Why are we in an empty Unity project that we're supposed to where we left off last time? Well, you see, we're a Rust channel now. Well, this week has certainly been a ride. Remember how in the last video I said Inkwell is my only project with an actual deadline, that being the 25th of July, so devlogs might either slow down during that period? Well, I wasn't completely wrong. There won't be any devlogs during the contest. However, as my good friend Daniel Kahneman put it, the planning fallacy is a phenomenon in which predictions about how much time will be needed to complete a future task display an optimism bias and underestimate the time needed. This phenomenon sometimes occurs regardless of the individual's knowledge that past tasks of a similar nature have taken longer to complete than generally planned. Empirical evidence? Me. I woke up one day and my brain was like, hey, remember that project you made like a week ago? The one using Firebase for authentication and database handling? Both specifically chosen due to time constraints, which are even more pressuring now? How about you throw out the entire project and redo it from scratch with an entirely new tech stack? It would be funny. Naturally, having been presented with this flawless line of reasoning, I contacted my teammate who I'm collaborating with on this project, who for some reason agreed, and by agreed I mean he didn't specifically tell me no. So that's what we're doing now, I guess. You might be thinking, okay, Calcopod, what did you throw out and what did you throw in, or something, I don't know. In any case, it's a perfectly valid question. The issue is I myself had no clue until, thankfully, due to some miracle of the gods, later that day this happened. Now, I've never used Rust before, but according to the official website, I should get started by reading the Rust programming language book, doing the rustling course, or reading Rust by example. According to my brain, however, with that out of the way, I jumped into Rider, downloaded the Rust plugin, clicked a few buttons, ran a few commands, and behold, hello world, the most complex program a human can make. Now, I should probably tell you what we are trying to build. After all, that is the whole point of this devlog, right? There's this contest in Romania where you have an indefinite period of time to come up with a new and novel idea, code some prototype of it, and present it before a few judges. If they think the idea is good and it has potential, you can pass to the next stage and go to the nationals. If they think the idea you presented was bad, you die. What great idea did we come up with that allowed us access to this prestigious event? Inkwell is an opinionated open source platform aiming to help game developers create and implement dynamic stories into their games. In reality, this means that we may or may not have shamelessly ripped off multiple GDC talks about how the story was handled in Left 4 Dead, Firewatch, and many other games. Links to each of the talks mentioned are in the description. Please check them out, they're really cool and they're going to do a much better job at explaining the following paragraphs. At its very core, the system described works on three fundamental ideas: tables, entries, and scopes. A table is just a collection of entries, usually scoped to some game area. Entries can be anything, especially as we allow user-defined types, but at its base, all entries must have the following: an ID and a value. The three basic predefined entries are, in order, facts, a piece of world state, events, which are used as triggers, and rules, which listen to events, and in the case that all of their criteria is met, carry out state modifications and execute callbacks. The former two store how many times they've been successfully triggered as their value. Scopes are also user-defined and allow for more efficient management of data, plus a neater hierarchical view of a project. The plan is to allow the user to dispatch an event and then have everything else handled for them. Under the hood, that means the system would figure out what data is or isn't in scope, and then check for the most specific rule which matches the build query. Our app is actually multiple apps. I am responsible for the web app, which would allow the user to create a schema of a complete project. It would also hopefully provide a better and more efficient user experience than, editing a JSON file. My teammate is responsible for making the C++ app to read the schema and actually handle everything in a game. What I am building now is the backend for the web app. I plan to make it a public external API, as it would allow people who don't want to use our web app to use just the API and create their own custom tools which would suit them better, as I am aware making one tool with the intention of satisfying everyone probably won't work. I have to make a confession. I went ahead and, in a mad decision, read the Rust book. I know, I shouldn't have done it, but look at me now, I'm a certified Rust professional.
The borrow checker, lifetimes, all learned, with closure soon to follow. Your kind knows nothing but hunger. Learned all topics from the first chapters, and yet they remain unsatiated. As to you, you have taken everything from me, machine, and now all that remains is unsafe code.
But I won't be doing that, because the entire reason I'm using Rust is to write safe code, so off to building an API I go! The first problem I encountered was the fact that I have no clue how to make an API. Don't get me wrong, I've made APIs and similar services before in the past, but I don't think I've ever done it properly, and since this is a pretty important contest and I would like to expand my skill set, I decided to do a little bit of research on how one APIs before actually starting to code. In the end, aside from one-off articles and YouTube videos, I found a few great books and series dedicated to this topic. However, the one I ended up sticking with is Zero to Production in Rust by Luca Palmieri. Why this and not the others? Well, since I'm a student, I managed to get this one for free. Jokes aside, it has been a great resource and I highly recommend checking it out if you want not only to build an API in Rust, but generally expand your knowledge. Also, massive shout out to the author for providing free copies to students. Well, my stupidity strikes again. It seems most of my footage from this week has been corrupted, and what hasn't is a stream recorded in the wrong aspect ratio, with the wrong color profile, at 2 AM. Why does nothing exist? On short, my workflow so far has been: look at book chapter title, try to do it on my own, fail miserably, try again for good measure, fail, read information from the book, somehow still fail, spend a few hours banging my head on a wall, type a few commands, oh it works now. Currently I am on chapter 6 of the book and I must say I've learned a ton. I've spent most of my time playing around not only with Rust and Postgres, which I had interacted with prior, but also with Docker and different REST clients such as Insomnia or Postman, which I was a complete stranger to. I may not have much to show for my week right now, especially due to the fact half of my footage is corrupted, but almost all of the blocks have been set in place for me to hopefully get something out of it by next week and have a proper devlog then. With that said, I still have no clue how to end this. I know it might seem like I said literally nothing of use during this video, and while that is true and will probably be true for most of my videos to come for a while, I am making this video just to get the motivation snowball rolling down the hill. I've thrown aside any sort of sense of quality or proper standards for making a video, because anytime I try to have that, I end up not uploading anything and I just waste time editing something that will never see the light of day.